Grassroots. It's great to have such a big crowd here. I hope that if you're here for the first time, that you will feel so welcome here among like-minded people that you will want to come back with me every Friday. And you can go to our website to see the very informative meetings that we have. And this is a very active group with very strong opinions, rooted in principle. I want to tell you today that it is a very, very important exercise we're taking on here today. Vetting candidates has never been as important as it is today. No longer can we afford to elect people on the basis of a personality contest.
Amen.
It has to be electing people who have the right core values and principles that will help us save these United States. And it begins in our own backyard. We can never hope to impact Austin and what goes on in our state house, or what goes on in Washington, D.C., if we are not first willing to have a very high local standard, a standard that calls for people to be principled, and I'm talking about the kind of principles that made this country possible and that has given us an opportunity to have a great country. And I hope that you believe, as we do, that America's best days are still before us. We've been slowed down a little bit by people who have values that are quite different from the values of these Texans and the things that make East Texas the greatest place on the face of the earth to live. But it is time for us to hold all elected officials and candidates to a very high standard. And then after they are elected to office, to hold them to that standard. And it's harder to do at the local level than at any other level. And you know why? Because these are the people that you see at church, in the post office, at the grocery store. They may even be your friends. And holding friends accountable is what we must do. I've got a new slogan. Friends don't let friends elect liberals to office. So today you will hear some questions asked of the candidates that may appear to be a little odd to you. But we are here to find out what the core beliefs of these candidates are. We want to know what's in here. And the questions, many of them are designed to do exactly that. Now, this is not the only forum we intend to have for the sheriff's race. This is such an incredibly important race that we intend to have a second one if the people in Austin and Washington can ever figure out when our primary will actually be. Right now, it looks like it may be May 29th. That's very difficult on the candidates to have an extended period. It's difficult on people who are trying to work with candidates. So I'm going to ask you today to have the greatest respect for these men. Turn off all cell phones, please. I say that every week, and then I hear some kind of funny little chirping, chipping, musical notes. Please, we don't hear that today. It's difficult to stand before a group of people and present yourself as a candidate. Please give them your best manners and attention and apply the golden rule. Now, the timekeeper is an experienced timekeeper, Ms. Darlene Radel from Grassroots Hideaway Lake, and she's going to make sure she's the enforcer today. The candidates know the rules, and we're going to keep the timing the way it should be for everybody, and to be very fair. No candidate has had access to the questions ahead of time. That's not how we conduct business around here. In fact, nobody has seen the questions, all the questions but me. Mr. Pat Stacy, who is the Vice President and General Manager of GAWTP, is our moderator today. And Pat and GAWTP have had the latitude to put together a list of questions. And Mr. Stacy has absolute authority to redirect. Today, if a question has not been answered fully, Pat has the authority to ask the question again. So, without further ado, I want to say this. Let's please make sure that you've got cards on your table. Questions from the audience should be written on cards. We do that to maximize the amount of time that we have for questions. Now, let me tell you how your question is most likely to be asked. Do not lead the witness. Okay, y'all get that? If you tell the candidate what you want them to say before you ask the question, that's leading the witness. Just ask the question. Okay? So thank you so much for being here, and we're going to get started. Thank you. Candidates, you may be seated.
All right, gentlemen, welcome again. First of all, let me say thank you for carving out this time. It shows your commitment to this political process. I think it speaks also to the value and importance that you see in every vote. And it's my desire that as we go through this today and in the weeks and hopefully a few months only ahead, that we inspire people to vote. And if nothing else, get out and vote. But again, thank you for your commitment here. We've got time right now for each candidate to have 2 minutes for opening statements. Again, please respect the time limits. We've got our timekeeper to my right, all the way down at the end. She will hold up a yellow paddle when there's 30 seconds left, a red paddle when time is up. And if you see, is it just one paddle? Okay, so if you see the red paddle from the audience, that means that the candidates are seeing the yellow paddle, so keep that in mind. I will interrupt you once that red time is up and just ask you to just finish your sentence at that point. So just be mindful of that. So we'll also, as we go through the questions, I will attempt to have answers starting at different candidates and rotate that throughout, so we're not just going to be in some alphabetical order or some other order that might create any kind of an imbalance in the preparation to answer the questions. All right? Gentlemen, you ready? All right. Well, we have 2 minutes now to begin opening statements. We will start and go from my left to right. So, Mr. Smith, you will begin. You have 2 minutes. Totally up to you on standing or sitting. It's really up to the individuals. So, if you're comfortable sitting, then I know that'd be fine too. If you've got to walk around a little bit, then that's fine as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here today to hear what we have to say. Thank you all for hosting this event. One thing I want to start off with is to tell you the office of sheriff of any county today is more important than it's ever been before. Everywhere I go, I hear people talking about the direction our nation is taking, and more especially our government, and more so the federal government. I think this has to, just like Ms. Fleming says, it's got to start at the local level. But one thing I did yesterday, I sent out a pledge. Y'all have that copy of that pledge at your table. There's copies if you were sitting in chairs and you get a copy of that pledge. It's up here in the front. It's a pledge from me to you of what I see, the direction we need to go, and where I will stand between you and an unconstitutional demand by any government, especially the federal government. I will stand between you and the federal government, and will defend you just like these other sheriffs throughout the nation have done up to today. These uncertain times that we live in demand principled, decisive, and and experienced law enforcement leadership who will fight crime and corruption. My proven leadership abilities, training, experience, and high ethical values will build a team, a good law enforcement team, whose number one goal will always be to protect your life, liberty, and property. I'm going to ask for your vote. I'm going to ask for your support today, but I hope not just ask for it, I hope to earn it by answering these questions. I hope the questions are difficult. The more difficult they are, the more I want to answer them. And you're going to have a great decision to make between now and election time. And I encourage you to look at each of the resumes, the past experience, the places we've been, the things we want to do. I look at Smith County Sheriff's Office. I look at the vision I have is not where the Sheriff's Office is, but where I want to take this Sheriff's Office. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Garland.
First, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. The race of the sheriff of Smith County is important, and you as voters need to know something about each one of us up here. I'm Bobby Gorman. The platform I'm running on is based on my experience. By now, you know I'm not a public speaker, but I am working on it, and I will continue to work on it. I am a public service. I've been in law enforcement for 34 years, 31 of them right here in Smith County. I started as a deputy and worked myself up through the rank to my current position, chief deputy, second in command of 355 employees. I also oversee a $25 million. The jail alone is 216 of those 355 employees. 17 million of that $25 million is to operate the jail. That is over 70% of the Smith County budget is the jail. I am the only candidate to kind of experience needs to do this job. I hold a massive peace officer license with over 2,800 hours of law enforcement management training. I am the only candidate with the kind of training needed to do this job. I have served as an officer in many law enforcement associations and have won numerous awards, including the Outstanding Chief Deputy Award. I have been active in our community and served on several nonprofit boards. I am a family man. I have been married to my wife for 31 years. We raised our 2 sons in this community and have vested interest in their well-being. I am the only candidate who have lived and worked in this county for 31 years. In times like these, experience matters. Experience is what we need as Sheriff of Smith County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Mr. Rust.
Well, my name is Don Rust, and I'm running for Smith County Sheriff. I'm married to my wife, Barbara. We have 2 children, Dustin and Molly. And I'm a conservative Republican and a resident of Smith County. Currently, I manage our family's oil and gas interests and work full-time, not paid, as the captain of Precinct 3 Constable's Office, with 10 years experience in law enforcement and over 30 years of successful business experience managing and owning many different types of businesses. I have been tested. I have the experience and knowledge of running $70 million budgets and motivating hundreds of employees. The sheriff's budget is $25 million and growing. What my campaign is focused on is efficient and effective use of current funds and finding ways to save taxpayer money without compromising our safety or security. With this in mind, and looking at the budget, here are 5 ideas. Number 1, we're going to implement a $20 bookend fee at the jail. That'll generate $260,000. 2, we have to come up with a plan to reduce deputy turnover. We're spending $700,000 a year retraining deputies. I have a plan for that I've used in other businesses. 3, we have to work with the Veterans Administration, and they've agreed to pay for medical care, mental care, and medicines for our veterans that are incarcerated. This can save us literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. The jail commissary has an operating budget of $2 million that is outsourced. With my food service background, we will be able to operate and manage the commissary and utilize the extra profit to reduce the burden to taxpayers. And number 5, the updated jail will require, which is mandated by the state, 70 new jailers will need to be hired and certified at an estimated cost of $3.4 million. Now the county's broke. Where and how will we get this money? Well, there is untapped.
All right, thank you, Mr. Russell. All right, Mr. Green.
Certainly want to thank Joanne and the board and Grassroots for having us. We as candidates know the importance of this race, and in y'all's presence here, we all know that this is a very important race. The sheriff is the top law enforcement officer in this county. I'm the most qualified candidate because we also know this sheriff's office is a law enforcement entity, but it's also a business. 355 employees, $25 million budget. I have a business degree from Dallas Baptist University. I've worked in the private sector. I've been a small business owner. And also I've got 20 years of state law enforcement, some of the best training the state of Texas has to offer. So I have the best of both worlds to be sheriff. I'm a master peace officer. I have almost 5,000 hours of law enforcement training right here in Smith County in the state. I'm a law enforcement instructor. I'm a firearms instructor, field training officer. I'm the media rep for our department for 20 years. Family man, my wife's here, Kelly. I have 2 kids. But most importantly, I as a game warden here have worked with every police municipality, fire department, every entity in Smith County. We've worked well together. We will continue to work together. I don't have to introduce myself to anybody, whether it's on the state level, the local level, city level, whatever it is. I know these guys because I've worked with them. I've worked around them. I know its strengths. I know the county's weaknesses because I've patrolled it for so long. I want to increase the integrity. I want to be more transparent, more efficient with our law enforcement, the use of our officers, and certainly budget, and certainly work by the Constitution. I have relevant law enforcement experience, the business side and the law enforcement side, the best training that Texas has to offer. I'm not a leader who leads by intimidation or fear. I lead by participation. I want to be the last one in the room to speak because I want everybody else to have a say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Just a note to the candidates, we are streaming this live on GAWTP.com, so if you can just make sure your microphones are up relatively close. We don't want to distort the sound, but just make sure that they are pretty close on that. All right, we're ready to begin the questions, and again, we will go randomly at different, starting with different candidates, but for the first question, we'll start down here on the left. And the first question is, the Smith County Sheriff's Office currently has several unsolved homicides. What is your experience in criminal investigations, and what would you do to prevent this number from growing? Mr. Smith.
Thank you. I worked my first homicide case at 20 years of age. It was over in Gregg County, 18-month-old baby named Aaron Andrew Smith, killed by stepdad James Kemp. Since that time, I've worked hundreds of homicides all over this nation, all over the world. The thing that has to be done with homicides to keep you from having 24 unsolved homicides, you have the first 24 to 48 hours. Every investigator that worked for me when I was captain of the Criminal Investigation Division of the Gregg County Sheriff's Office knew not to ask me, there's no way they're going home for 24 to 48 hours. What they referred to was an hour in a shower. That's what they got within that 48 hours. They had an hour to collect their thoughts, take a shower, get refreshed, and go back to work. That's how you keep from having 24 unsolved homicides. You have to get on them. You have to put your best personnel and your best investigators working the homicide cases. You have to have leadership. A leader is different from I believe, than a supervisor. A supervisor will always stand behind the men. A leader leads in front of the men. I consider myself, as a homicide investigator, as an investigator, not only locally and with the federal government, as a leader. I was a supervisor in many of those aspects, but I was also, I prided myself more so in being a leader than I ever did being a supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. it's all right, let's just hold our applause as we get through these questions, and we'll get through more questions, if that's okay, and we'll keep it moving. Mr. Garman.
First, in my experience, I have been involved in working several homicides. I have working and also supervised the teams that work homicide. Any homicide in Smith County, I'm a part of, I'm involved in. First, we do not have 24 unsolved homicides. Some of these homicides that my opponent is talking about, we waiting stuff back to the lab. We waiting to get some of the cases have been filed with the district attorney office. You remember like 2 years ago, a year ago, we solved 2 cold cases of our homicide. These homicides today, they have more technology that can help investigate these homicides. Today, they have DNA. Back some of these homicides that he's talking about, my opponent's talking about, is go back to the 70s. And we are still working on it. Every time we have a homicide, we have a team. The district attorney come out, we make sure before we leave that crime scene, we get the district attorney out there. We go over everything about this homicide that so everybody can put their head. We have Texas Ranger, we get the FBI. We get everybody involved in these homicides that we got. And it don't stop there. We continue to work. We continue to work. And some days it's like the one we cleared, it was 20 years ago. But we got the break that we need.
Thank you, Mr. Garman. All right, Mr. Rust.
Well, I agree with,
I agree with Bobby. You have to hire the best people. That's how you solve these issues. And it's not just homicides. It's civil issues, criminal issues, homicides. And Bobby, I think your department does a good job at that. And the key is they do have good people. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Green.
Well, as a Texas game warden, spending most of my career right here in Smith County, the homicides, I guess, that I've worked, it would be the boat accidents, jet ski accidents, hunting accidents that occur from someone's negligence, whether they're impaired, alcohol, drugs, or whatever, or just reckless operation or reckless conduct. I have worked with other agencies, the FBI, when trying to retrieve, whether rifles or shotguns, pistols in our lakes and stuff. But as far as the Parks and Wildlife being lead agencies on homicides in a residence or, at Walmart or wherever, Parks and Wildlife is not the lead on that. But we have worked with many entities to help solve these issues. Listen, the sheriff's responsibilities isn't a homicide investigator. We are the executors of the law. We work for the executive branch as sheriffs, and we take the oath to defend the oath, of course, but we're going to put the best people in place. Our team of folks that we're going to put in place will have that experience, have had that experience around the city, state, and local level. So the sheriff has to put together a team of experts in that field. If a sheriff's got to enter the tape of a crime scene, then he's probably hired the wrong person. So that's not the sheriff's responsibility, and y'all are educated, y'all know that. We're the last line in the sand to the federal government, and that's what our responsibility is going to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Next question. During your career as a law enforcement officer, what's the most serious crime you've ever yourself personally investigated? And briefly tell us the results of that investigation. We'll start with Mr. Rust.
I think probably the most heartbreaking are drownings, and especially when it has to do with children. Chris and I have worked together on some different drownings. As far as murders or anything like that, constable's office, we may be the first responder, but we hand it off immediately. We don't have the resources for that. We do the civil end, just like the sheriff does. So as far as going out and just solving crime, that's not what we do.
Thank you, Mr. Rust. All right, Mr. Green. Question. Yeah, during your career as a law enforcement officer, what's the most serious crime you've ever yourself personally investigated? And briefly tell us the results of that investigation.
Well, I don't know, and I don't think all of it's solved yet. I can't speak too much about it, but the fatality boat accident happened in Lake Cherokee. It involved some high-profile officials. One state rep over there, one of his nieces. It was an accident. I'm a boat accident reconstruction artist. I have advanced training that the state has trained me on. One of 3 in the state that has that. I'm an expert witness in boat accident investigation. That was a fatality and a serious head injury with another person that I took from A to Z. Investigated the case, went before the grand jury, got an indictment, went before all the civil attorneys, civil process, down that whole road. So, as Parks and Wildlife game wardens, we do some of those fatalities. I've worked hundreds of drownings, unfortunately, and they're all fatalities. And we're the lead agency on public waters and on hunting accidents. So I've been involved in that process. I'm not naive to it. I have crime scene experience through my Master Peace Officer certificate. I've been through that training. So, again, the boat accidents involved in, serious bodily injury or fatalities. I have worked in, these are sad affairs, and we're going to certainly do that with kid gloves when we handle them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Smith.
First, I'd just like to go back to the last question just shortly, briefly. One of the things alluded to by one of the other candidates, it's not the sheriff's job to work homicide cases. This is a large group here today. I'm sure some of you or your family's been a victim of homicide. I would like for that candidate to look that person in the eye and tell them it's not his job to find out who killed their loved one. But what was the question again? I'm sorry.
You bet. During your career as a law enforcement officer, what's the most serious crime you've ever yourself personally investigated? And tell us the results of that investigation.
There's been so many. I've worked 6 to 8 capital murder cases. Most of the actors in those cases are in the cemetery now. They got the capital punishment. One as recently as last year, the Katie's Lounge murders in Kilgore, where 4 people were killed. DeRoyce Mosley was put to death last year. John Ludig was killed here in Tyler. Napoleon Beasley's been put to death. Newton Anderson killed a man and woman in New Harmony here several years ago. Raped a lady and killed both of them, burned the house down. He's in the cemetery now. Those are cases that also, one that I worked on, took great pride in, but I felt very helpless in doing so, was when the 9/11 happened and the plane hit the Pentagon. I served there as one of the team leaders on our national and international response team. So the good Lord has had the grace to put me in great positions, to give me great leadership abilities, great experience that could never be. I couldn't have had a better 35-year law enforcement career as I've already had, and I don't want it to stop at 35 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Smith. Mr. Garman.
I've been in Smith County since 1980, and I promoted as starting as sergeant in 1982. So I've been in supervised roles most of mine. I've been involved in every homicide in Smith County, any major case. I've been affidavit on 3 capital murders because I work with the FBI. And the FBI is not a certified peace officer. I had to sign the affidavit. I worked close with it. On Chad Choice case, I worked close. One of my opponents said he worked a lot of these cases. A lot of these cases, he wasn't even there the first, what the government said the first 48 hours. He wasn't there the first 48 hours. The Anderson case, that's a Smith County case. We the one who worked that case and filed that case and stuff. I'm not saying he came with the district attorney office and looked over it. Like I said, we work at a team here in Smith County. We have other people come and make sure that we've done everything. That's what we want. That's when we got a clearance rate. The national average clearance is like 62%. Smith County clearance rate murder case is like 72%. So we above the national average on clearing homicide in Smith County.
All right, thank you, Mr. Garman. Next question. Since you left high school or college, have you taken any class on our nation's founding documents? And if so, please give an approximate time when you took that class. Give us a bottom line summary of what you learned. Start with Mr. Green.
I'm going to have to respond just real quick to the statement. As sheriff, it's not that I'm not compassionate or going to solve, homicides. I've cried with many families that have lost loved ones that I've pulled from lakes and in the woods. I'm telling you, it's not about that. what I'm saying is that's not the sheriff's responsibilities of chief law enforcement officer. He puts his men in place, to, like I said, for these homicides. As far as the question goes, my law enforcement training, the oath of office that I took, in reading the Constitution, being a constitutional guy, I haven't taken any formal classes on the U.S. Constitution. Most of my knowledge was derived from my own willingness to look into the Constitution, our founding fathers. But as sheriff, I'm going to take that oath of office again as a peace officer and be the last line in the sand, be the executors of the law, and make sure that we are the protector of the people. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Smith.
In 1987, when I left after being at the Gregg County Sheriff's Office for 11 years, went to the federal law enforcement. One of the things I had to give up that I didn't want to give up, I'd worked hard for, was my Texas Peace Officers Commission. Since that time, you couldn't carry a dual commission at that time. I had to give it up. First thing I did after January 31st of last year, when I retired, is I went back and challenged the test. I'm now a master peace officer with over 8,500 hours of training, 1,200 hours of which I provided to other state, local, federal, and international law enforcement students throughout this world. I had to go back and take classes. I've also put myself through jail school where I would better know what's expected of the jailers. And I had my jail commission certification that I put myself through the East Texas Police Academy because I thought it's very important aspect to have if you're going to be running for that position, to know what each and every one of the law enforcement officers do. I know what they all do. I've worked with the Sheriff's Office. Most of my federal career has been working all over the United States in 48 or 50 states after we were called to do so for assistance with some highly trained people I work with to assist local and state law enforcement.
Thank you. Mr. Garman.
When I graduated from high school, I attended College, and I did take U.S. history, U.S. government, and also when I went to the police academy, we did go.
Any summary on that, on how that impacted you?
It's been so long.
Mr. Rest.
Well, I can tell you I haven't taken a whole lot of classes other than police academy and school, but I carry the Constitution. I have always had the Constitution. And I'd like to just take 1 minute to respond to another question. I see the sheriff as an administrator. I see the sheriff as a CEO. And I see the sheriff as protecting you from the federal government. Murders are tragedies. But I can tell you, I will have the best people there to solve them.
All right. Do you want to respond to the question? You doing that? All right.
What's the Constitution?
Yeah, okay. Got that. As far as rebuttals, let's stick to the questions on the table if you could, and you'll have time at the end if you need to circle back around and make a point that is in rebuttal. All right, a little bit of history here. On June 27th, 1997, the Brady Gun Control Act of 1968 was declared unconstitutional by the United States Supreme Court in a suit fought through the courts for over 3 years. And this was all brought by Sheriff Richard Mack, then Sheriff of Graham County, Arizona. Please interpret the ruling as it applies to the authority of a county sheriff. This again applies to the Brady Gun Control Act of 68. Yeah. Let's start with Mr. Green.
Well, I've read some of Richard Mack's books, and I'm glad that he stood up as sheriff. There weren't very many sheriffs that stood up. There was one in Texas that did. I think he had 7 that stood up in that particular incident against the Brady bill. And I promise you, as a sheriff here, I'm going to stand just like he did. You know, we're in tough times, and I promise you, under my watch, I believe in the Second Amendment, and under no circumstances the federal government comes in here, or the IRS, or whoever it may be, and try to take our firearms away from us and ask the sheriff to do so. I promise you that's one executive order from the president or a czar that comes here, or whoever might do it, that we're not going to abide by. We are going to make sure that our folks that want firearms, in this county especially, will keep them. Federal government's not getting them, I promise you.
Mr. Rest.
I think Chris is right on. When I'm sheriff, no one will come into Smith County, be it the FBI, ATF, IRS, either seize anything from you or take your weapons, period.
Thank you, Mr. Rest. Mr. Garman.
Well, I know I'm gonna stick with that guy, but I believe in what I believe in. My job is to enforce the law. If I feel like it's something not constitutional, unconstitutional, that's when we have a county attorney and district attorney office. If a federal judge gives me an order to do something, if I feel like that is not constitutional, my job is to get with the county attorney, the district attorney office, and let them file a brief and let them house it out the law. And that's the way I feel.
Thank you, Mr. Garman. Mr. Smith.
I believe the question was how we interpreted that ruling, was it not?
Yes, I interpret the ruling as it applies to the authority of the county sheriff.
First of all, I applaud Sheriff Mack and all the other sheriffs that stood with him on that. That's the best thing that could have happened. But more importantly, I think Justice Scalia got it right, that the federal government cannot come in here and dictate their total different sovereignty than they are from the state of Texas. Two different sovereignties. They cannot come in here and dictate. They learned that. They learned recently in other cases that just happened in Montana. They've learned in Indiana. They've learned in Wyoming. They've learned in all places. The tables need to be turned. The federal government needs to remember not only what the First and Second Amendments are, but they need to also remember, more importantly, what the 10th Amendment says.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right, next question. Communication and cooperation between law enforcement agencies is critical to the success of each agency. Is our current approach adequate, or would you make changes? Mr. Garman.
I think our current is proposed. We work with every law enforcement in Smith County, around the county, or wherever. If they call us, we there to help them. We there to show that we have, like White Houses. White House have something that they can't handle. They call us like the constable. They call us if they get a big something they cannot handle. They always call us, and we work with them day to day. I am working right now, working on trying to get a county-wide technology because we cannot communicate with each other. And like the crime don't stop right here in the city, don't stop right in the White House. So I am working on trying to get a county-wide technology so everybody can work on everything together. You know, sometimes, you know, I try to get the dispatch, try to get an overall dispatch, and we have one dispatcher center. And I'm not through with that. I'm still going to work that so we can have one dispatch. When the call comes in 911, it comes in one central location. But we work with every little city, every little town. When Van Zandt County call us and need help, we go. Thank you.
Mr. Garman, Mr. Smith, adequate or changes?
I believe it's inadequate. I'll just go back to when I first started my law enforcement career in Gray County. Back at that point, we didn't get along very well with the Longview Police Department. I made lieutenant of the Criminal Investigation Division at 23 years of age. And I decided that if I'm not going to go try to improve those relationships, who's going to do it? Who else should I ask to do it? I went down to the police department, almost got run out of it the first time I went there. I kept going back. We started going to lunch together. Kept going back. We had birthday parties together. It worked out so well that the sergeant of narcotics of Longview Police Department was best man at my and Leslie's wedding. That's the kind of relationships I like to build, long-lasting relationships. I've had to build relationships all over the United States in short order. You have to build a rapport with these people that we go to in these different states that they've had a bombing, or they've had a fire that's killed a lot of people, whatever. You have to build rapport with these people. It has to be long term. You have to. Nobody can wear it. I had a debate yesterday about, you know, I suppose they made somebody mad in the church fire investigation. I have no apologies whatsoever for hurting somebody's feelings when both perpetrators are in the Texas Department of Corrections right now. And that's where it's got to go. You have to build relationships. You have to do the right things for the right reasons. But after that, you got to let it be what it's going to be.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Green.
Well, I think I have a proven track record of working with every police municipality here. I've worked with all the constables. I've worked with the city of Tyler. I've worked with the sheriff's deputies. I've answered calls for them and with them. I have a proven track record of working together. I can assure you, not all of our law enforcement agencies are working together with each other right now. Our constables have problems with PDs. We have sheriff's office having problems with Tyler PD. We have some issues. I've always worked together with these folks, and will continue as sheriff. We're going to be like-minded and work together, because that only serves to better protect our citizens, catch the bad guys where we network. You know, the city of Arp, they pay taxes. They don't even communicate with their 911 system. I'm not sure why, but they don't. I don't, maybe Bobby can explain that, but we don't communicate. We have to, if we're in law enforcement and we're trying to catch the bad guys. All of our agencies need to be able to communicate with each other. I, as a game warden, have a proven track record of doing just that. Always willing to help. And will as the next sheriff, I promise you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rest.
I think we really have an opportunity to work better with the city of Tyler. I'm on the Traffic Safety Board and the Economic Development Board. There is a few areas between the Sheriff's Department and especially Tyler PD that I see opportunity. One would be the 911 system. Another would be streamlining our equipment and fleet and making purchases together. I think we can save thousands of dollars there.
Thank you. Next, back to a federal level, but bringing it down to the local level as well. Please identify a U.S. Supreme Court justice who reflects the judicial philosophy that most closely aligns with your own personal beliefs about the criminal justice system and the rule of law. This is U.S. Supreme Court justice. And then explain why that is. Start with Mr. Smith.
I think I've already answered that question, but I'll come back to Justice Scalia. Justice Scalia, one of the cases I worked here, the capital murder cases here in Tyler, Texas, Justice Mike Ludig, who's on the Court of Appeals in the D.C. area. That was his father, John Ludig, that got killed. Judge Scalia is the one we had to call to give the death message because we couldn't get a hold of him. But not only that, Judge Scalia, as I said earlier, got it right with the Brady Bill. He said there are two separate sovereignties between the United States and Texas. The big brother United States can't come here and tell us how to run the state of Texas, number one, and more especially Smith County. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Green.
Well, I agree with Larry down there. Justice Scalia, you know, he's like-minded with me. I like what he did with Sheriff Mack on the Brady Bill issue. So our principles and our values, I think, are like-minded. He would be one that I would be most appreciative of.
Mr. Rust?
I can't think of more of an item than the Brady Bill that would affect law enforcement. And I would have to go with Scalia also.
All right, Mr. Garman.
I agree also with Justice there, but you know, some of them, they make their rule and we don't know the whole detail of it. So we just have to look at each bill. Some of them got good points, some of them don't. So I guess he stand out more than the rest of them.
All right. If faced with a budget shortfall, what would be the first expense areas you would consider reducing? Mr. Rust.
Well, I think when you look at my initial statement, I'm ready for a budget shortfall. And I've pointed out exactly how we can add almost $1 million or $1.3 million back into the system by letting the bad guy pay for himself a little bit. Seems like the good guy is always paying for the bad guy. And we have to stop that, and I've got a plan for that. That's what I'm good at.
Has that been tested anywhere else?
I've owned 6 different businesses, and I've had to cut a lot of costs.
But in a jail environment, charging inmates the $25 that has been
20.
tested for 20?
Yes. And I'll take it just a step further, if I may. Once they're sentenced, we can charge them a daily rate. And we need to look into that. And we can pull that right out of the commissary money. Now, it can't go for patrol, but it can go for expenses in the jail, such as uniforms and whatever.
Mr. Garman.
Our budget right now is pretty well streamlined. On the jail, like I said, the jail is 70% of our budget. And the jail is pretty well mandated on the jail. The sheriff office not the only person. We got 32 different agents in Smith County book people in the sheriff office. I know Mr. Russ said about $20 booking fee. We already charge the city of Tyler $35 for booking a Class C information. That's a Class C person in jail. If we charge that $20, we got to charge to the city of Tyler, because these people is not going to pay. And then if you want them to pay $20, while you try to collect $20, it costs you $38 a day to house an inmate. So, which one you want to do? You want to charge them $20, or you want to stay in jail an extra day to get that $38? To cut the budget, like I said, our budget is pretty well streamlined. $25 million, if you cut 1%, you're talking about $250,000 just on 1% of $25 million budget.
Mr. Smith.
First of all, I'm not going to wait for a budget shortfall to happen should I be elected as your next sheriff. I'm going to try to streamline the budget to start with, and where I think it needs to start, and I've already got the last 6 years sheriff's budget. I've got the roster of the sheriff's office. I've already identified places that I'll first start cutting the budget. And one of those places is that we contract our nurses, we contract our food service. There's an adjoining county to us right now that serves meals for 42 cents per inmate per day, cheaper than we do here. 42 cents times 365 times an average of 800 inmates is over 120,000 just on that one aspect alone. Those places right there, $120,000 will pave a few roads that we hadn't been able to pave here in Smith County for years, thanks to all the money going to house these inmates and everything. But that's one of many places. There's too many things to go into. I'll be glad to talk to anybody after this to tell you some other ideas I've got about how to save money in the jail budget. It's the biggest part of the budget, therefore it's got the biggest place to save that money. One aspect on the nurses, if we don't contract the nurses, and we hire our own nurses, we can send them to the 96-hour jail school, where then they're cross-trained as a jailer, certified by the Texas Commission on Jail Standards, and they count as one of those employees required by the jail standards to be on the floor, 1 per every 48 inmates.
Thank you. Mr. Green.
Well, I think we can streamline the sheriff's office. I think that we have too many specialty jobs at the sheriff's office, especially on the supervisory level. We can put those positions in the field, save taxpayer dollars, meet regularly with the judges. A warrant task force, we have 10, 12,000 outstanding warrants. Get some of the monies back from some of these warrants. A night jail program for deadbeat dads, if you will. Those fathers that owe child support, they need some repercussions. But we go through 200 in Smith County Jail, especially the ones that are nonviolent that have jobs. Well, now they're going to lose their jobs, and now they're on the system, and now their kids are on Medicaid. And the wives. So a night jail program where possibly they come in at 6 p.m. After work, pay $5 or $10 to stay there and get out at 6 a.m. so they can work and continue to provide for their families, whether the wages are garnished by the wife or not. But work with commissioners to solve some of the problems. There's the food contracts and vendors. A sheriff will work with the commissioners and county judge, but they make those decisions on those contracts. Work with constituent groups like the grassroots. We're going to be transparent. There's a lot of educated folks in here that would love to delve off into the budget that we'll pull assistance from. So we're not above that either. That's it.
Thank you. What approach will you use as sheriff to hold your employees accountable to the policies and laws of the county and state? Start with Mr. Garman.
We have policy procedures that our employee know. When I hire an employee, I cannot be with that employee 24/7. I got to hold him full accountable on county policy procedure. If something is not brought to my attention but I don't see anything, I cannot hold that employee accountable until somebody called in and let me know that this employee is doing this and that and that. And then that way, I will address that in an employee. To use the rest of my time on this, my opponents, they can get up here and tell you they're going to do this and do that. We already contract our food. We don't have when the bids go out, we can't go and put out, put people on by the back and making bids on it. We have to take the best bid and the lowest bids that we can get. This program about the deadbeat dad, that's just a court decision. That's not the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office have no control over that at all. So I want you to pay attention. These guys get up here and tell you they can do this and do that. They cannot do it.
Mr. Rest.
I can't do it. Well, I guess I'm mixed up. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, let's again, let's stick to the questions. Perhaps there's some direct connection there, but perhaps not. What approach will you as sheriff take to hold your employees accountable to the policies and laws of the county and state?
Well, first they have to be trained, and second, they need adequate supervision. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Well, I certainly think that when we put our team together, we're going to look at the policies we have. Obviously, they're going to be tweaked, if not outright changed. Too many times, the people at the sheriff's office and the complaints that I hear is that the disciplinary is so out of kilter. You know, if you're not part of the group or the clique or you're part of a family member, you get treated differently. You know, disciplines and promotions are based on loyalty more so than job performance. And so that's certainly going to change. You have to have better supervisors. Supervisors can't be supervising cousins and aunts and sisters and brothers. It's just not efficient because that is wrong and horrible for the morale. And we have a morale issue right now at the sheriff's office.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Accountability goes back to nothing more than character and integrity. And one thing I'll say about integrity, something was said in one of the opening statements about you want to improve the integrity. Integrity, either you've got it or you don't. And if you lose it, it cannot be rehabilitated. If you lose integrity in law enforcement, you can't rehabilitate it. One of the first things, I was lucky and very fortunate at 20 years of age when I went to work for a sheriff's office. Glenn Elliott, the Texas Ranger, I was side by side with him in my office at Gray County. He took me to the side as a young went behind the ears deputy and said, I just want to tell you the story here, and I want you to remember it. I told this same story to the TJC students last night at the debate last Thursday night. You're like a goldfish in a bowl. People can see you from 360 degrees. They're going to look at you not only in your professional life, they're going to look at you in your private life because that reflects directly on the office of Sheriff of Smith County. In that case, it would be Gray County. But as long as you maintain your integrity, as long as you know and hold yourself, agree to hold yourself to a higher standard and live up to that, your character and integrity will follow.
Thank you. Next question. Sheriff Smith has been sheriff for more than 30 years. In your opinion, is that too long? And if elected, how long do you see yourself serving? Start with Mr. Rust.
For me, that's too long. For the sheriff, I think he's done a great job. I see my position as sheriff 4 years, possibly 8. And that's it. Then somebody else needs to come in.
All Mr. Smith.
I agree on that issue with one of the candidates here running for another office, Matt Schaefer. The best way to limit the time in office is by you voters out here. As long as I feel like I'm contributing to the process, contributing to something, I'm going to be there. I'm not a spring chicken should I be elected now like J.B. Smith was when he first got elected. My age alone will not allow me to serve 36 years. And I have a vision for this county. The vision I have of this county is by no means where this county is today. It's where I see this county going. Should I be elected sheriff, I will not rest, I will not fail, I will not be satisfied till Maxie Soriano, the sheriff in Gregg County, Anthony Betterton, the sheriff in Upshur County, Greg Taylor, the sheriff in Anderson County, Ray Nutt, the sheriff in Henderson County. All of these sheriffs look at this department of the Smith County Sheriff's Office and say, that's the way we want to conduct our business.
All right, Mr. Garman.
I think it's you know, voters been voting for the last 36 years to put him back in office. So I'm not going to guess you and tell you that you've been voting for the wrong person. You weren't voting for him. That's the way our laws and rules is now, that you vote for the person and put him in office. So you've been putting him in there. And so, no, I don't think that's too long because you wanted him to put him in there. So he must have been doing a good job. So my tenant, probably with my age and stuff, probably to the most is 2 terms. But I will be training somebody to take my place.
Mr. Green.
Well, I think Sheriff Smith's had a really good run here in Smith County. He has 30-plus years, though. I feel like is a bit long. You know, Michael Jordan, Brett Favre, they had to eventually retire too. But I'll tell you, it has been a good run. But I think after that long, our deputies, our investigators, our supervisors and staff, you know, you just get way too complacent. I think that we need employees to come in and you know, ever so often, you know, these aren't lifetime appointments, and we understand that. As long as I'm effective as sheriff, I feel like I'm in my prime. I don't know about these other guys, but the teams that we're going to bring in, they're in their prime too. So, you know, 3 or 4 terms is what I was looking at, hopefully. But that's up to the voters and how we do as a sheriff's office. I promise you, the team that we're putting together, you'll be proud of what we do, and we're just going to increase on our abilities and how we serve this county. I love this county. I've been here a long time as a game warden. The community's been really, really good to me and my family, and I want to give back, and that's exactly what I'm going to do as sheriff, is give back to a community that has been so good to me and my family, and will continue to do so at a high level until y'all see fit that we can't do it anymore. Thanks.
All right, this next question has to do with the drug court versus time in the Smith County Jail. We know many, if not most, of the people in our jail today are there for some offense related to illegal drugs. Drug courts in Texas were designed to provide court-supervised treatment to reduce drug usage, arrests, and recidivism, and to lower costs in the criminal justice system. In your opinion, do these drug courts work? Mr. Green.
I like the drug court system. I don't think everybody that's on drugs is a lost soul. I think people can be rehabilitated. I'm not sure that sitting in a jail cell is a place to rehabilitate a drug user. I think there needs to be programs that allows our ones that are afflicted with such an addiction to an opportunity. I think everybody deserves a second chance, but with the drug courts, I think it's a good thing. As long as they, whatever their sentence is, they adhere to the rehab, and as long as they're doing and trying, none of that's going to help folks if they don't want to do it, and they're going to have to want to. It only works if the person that's inflicted with this addiction wants to in his soul to change. I know people that are addicted to meth and other drugs. Jail time didn't help. The minute they got out, they were back at it. So I like the drug courts as long as that person certainly will adhere to the behavior that's bestowed upon him by the judges, and he follows through with it.
Mr. Garman.
I like the drug court. I like to say, I don't think that jail solve all our problems. I don't think everybody need to end up in jail. Some of these people get hooked on pain medicine. They have so many pain they get hooked on. We need to try to work with these people. I think the first thing, we need to start with the school. We need to start when they in first grade, even Head Start. But I don't think everyone, the jail is for everyone for drugs. I think we need to try to work with them, and I like the drug court. I think, hey, let's give them a chance. If they mess up that chance, then let's go to the next, is the jail, let's go to the next step. But let's try to give them a chance.
All right. Mr. Rest.
Part of what I do is truancy, and I deal a lot with children. And the drug courts are hard. They're not easy. They demand a lot, and I think they're great. I think they're efficient, and personally, you never give up on somebody. Never.
Mr. Smith.
Bobby, first of all, I applaud you for saying it needs to start in school, but I think you need to go one step before that. About 5 or 6 years before, it's got to start in the home. It can't start in the school. I like the drug courts. One thing I disagree with on some of the drug courts is you got these people on crack cocaine, methamphetamine. They will do anything. They'll sell their soul. They'll sell their body to get it. Unless they're incarcerated and get help and want to help, there's nothing whatsoever you, I, or anybody else can do to help them. Those are the people that break into your houses while you're at work, kick your door in, take your property, go sell it for crack cocaine or methamphetamine. What we've got to do with the drugs is not go after the addiction only. We can't go out here and make a big splash about, hey, look what we did. We arrested 4 or 5 local street dealers here. There's 10, 15, 100 to take each one of their place. What we've got to do is just like a doctor operating on someone with cancer. We've got to follow those cases. We've got to work with other agencies, DEA, DPS, all of our local police agencies, to follow those people. Like one of the guys here in Aldous today, Danny Green, former DPS narcotics agent, I worked years together. We followed people to Houston. We arrested the Colombians. We cleared murder cases through wiretaps. You have to use all the technology, all innovation available to you to cut out that cancer, because if you don't cut it out up there at that level, it's going to grow back.
All right, next question. How, as sheriff, how will you reach across ethnic and cultural lines to be responsive to all Smith County citizens? Mr. Smith.
The way I reach across those lines is I treat everybody by the golden rule, regardless of what color they are, what ethnic lines they are, and treat them like I want to be treated. No matter what color their skin is or anything else, it shouldn't make a bit of difference. I was fortunate, by the grace of God, I grew up on my mother's old home place. And a lot of people don't believe this. I'm not trying to tell a J.B. Smith story up here. By the way, we're not related. I took a bath in a number 2 wash tub on the front porch in the summertime, in front of the fireplace in the wintertime. That is what God has put me in those positions where I can relate so well from anybody from there to when I was in Gerdek, Albania 2 years ago, running one of the international response teams where 28 people have been killed in the bombing over there. I had to deal with the Minister of Defense, Minister of the Interior, Minister of Justice. I can relate from anybody, the poorest person on the street, to people like that, and I pride myself in doing so.
Mr. Rust?
I have not been to Albania, but I have been to the Metro Chamber. And I am a member of the Hispanic Chamber. And he's talking about my territory. I hadn't been through there yet. I also do Hispanic TV and radio, and probably some of the best places that you can go is church. You go to the Hispanic churches, you go to the black churches, you're really welcome there. And they tell you what they think, and that's the best way to meet them and be part. And they feel comfortable calling you and writing you letters, and it's special when you do go to the church.
Mr. Green?
Well, I've reached out to the Hispanic community, the black community, all of it. As a game warden, I've dealt with many races, hunting and fishing and being in the outdoors. Never had a problem with any of them in that respect. But I have reached out to the Hispanic community. I've been on a TV show here recently, and most recently I've been to the Metro Chamber, talking to the folks up there on the north end of the county. Listen, I'm Republican. I'm a conservative Republican. But I'm going to be the sheriff for everybody. And the sheriff probably needs to be independent, because we are the sheriff for every person in this county. Those that pay taxes and those that don't. We are the sheriffs for everybody. We are protectors of the people, and we're certainly going to do that. And we're not going to look at skin color or what you do. If you break the law, we're going to arrest you, and you're going to get to go to jail, no matter what your skin color is. We're going to be fair. We're going to be compassionate, but we're going to do our jobs. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Garment.
I look at a person as a person, not the color of their skin. I'm going to help anybody that would let me help them. I want to treat people like I want to be treated. I'm going to enforce the law. And, when we arrest somebody, we don't have a cell for if they black, they go in this cell, if they white, they go this cell, if they rich, they go here, they go poor, whatever. We don't do what's everybody get the same treatment. That one of my main things, I want to go home at night and lay my head down on my pillow and say I treat everybody right, like a person.
If response time is a problem currently, what would you do to improve it, and how would you measure success? Mr. Garment?
Our response time, overall response time, is 20 minutes. Yes, we can improve that. We can improve anything that we do. One way that we can improve it with our new technology, our software hadn't had an upgrade since 1997, excuse me, 1997. But today, when you go buy a TV, when you come home, 6 months, they don't have an upgrade. When you call 911 today, our dispatch has to touch 3 keyboards and 6 different mouses just to get that call. That is time. Not only that, our patrol deputies cannot communicate with our dispatch without talking on the radio. Our patrollers should see the same thing that our dispatch see. They should be able to put a call in without going to the dispatch. I think if we upgrade our technology and go GPS so that dispatch can see which is the closest deputies to that call to make sure they get there, I think that would help our response time also. Also, our overall response time is 20 minutes. Sometimes we dispatch someone to a call. We have to take them off that call and send them to a call in progress.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
First of all, I see response time as being when the individual that needs police service, when they get on the telephone and make the phone call. I don't see response time as when the call was dispatched. There's a distinct difference in that. That's one thing I'd like to clear up. Another thing is, if you're out here, one of your wives is out there in the rural part of the county where it's up to the sheriff to protect your life, liberty, and property, how would you like to be on the 20-minute end of that if somebody's breaking in a house out there and you're at work and your wife is at home by herself? 20 minutes doesn't sound near as good then. 20 minutes is much better than an hour and a half I've heard out here on the street. But still, 20 minutes, we can do better than that. What we've got to do is put more deputies out on the street. We've got enough. I'm not going to come in on January 1st, 2013, should I be fortunate to be elected as your next sheriff. I'm not going to come and ask for more money. I'm not going to come and ask for more people. We've got the personnel to put there. We're going to get some of these investigators that 29 of them take off the crime scene and everything else, at least 20. And I heard yesterday that the district attorney's office is open during the day, so that's why they work days. That's not when the crime's happening. That's where we need them to go ahead and train these new patrol officers and everything to make them able to get the DNA evidence, the tire tracks, the footprints, the fingerprints, to help catch these people.
Mr. Rust.
Well, I've got an idea. I think what we need to do is utilize some reserves, which are trained exactly as a regular deputy, just like I am. There's no difference other than I just don't take a paycheck. And there's people like me out there. If we can put 2 people in a unit, when there's a disturbance call or a weapons call, we don't have to wait for backup. That will immediately cut down our time. Number 2, talking about what Bobby just said, we do have the computer system. Bobby has done a pretty good job with the 911 center. I can tell you out of my unit where all of the deputies are when it's working. Unfortunately, we don't have the equipment like Tyler PD has. And we need to work with Tyler so at least we have equipment when I'm out in the county that it doesn't go down.
Mr. Green.
Well, I'm certainly glad some of the folks are beginning to agree with me, because I said from the jump, we need more boots on the ground. We need more deputies in the field. Just having deputies patrolling around is a deterrent to a lot of crimes. I know that. But also, I like Don's use of reserves. 90% of the calls that occur need 2 officers. If you put a full-time officer in a reserve in a car, then you utilize 1 vehicle. They don't need backup from another guy that might be an hour and a half away. They can utilize reserves good. Coming up with a mobile booking team, maybe made up of reserves or court deputies that come out to a scene where there's fixing to be arrest. Let those guys take the bad guy to jail. Keep our officers in the field. Utilizing canines. Maybe a canine officer riding with more of our officers. Better relationships with our municipalities, our PDs, our constables, state police out there, gang wardens, highway patrol, all of them. The good relationships you have with them, they will also in turn help you. So all of that combined, I think we would be more efficient in our response times. But more deputies in the field is key. I know because I've patrolled this huge county. It takes a long time to get from Jamestown to Troop. It does. But I know that we can better our response times with more boots on the ground serving our folks.
All right, thank you. This will be the final question, and then we'll move into any rebuttals, any additional comments. You'll have 3 minutes for those. But here is the final question. What will you accomplish in the first 90 days of your term as Smith County Sheriff? Mr. Rust.
Well, let me go back to my first 5 items. The first thing we're going to do when I'm sworn in is we're going to implement that $20 bookend fee. And I think generating that $260,000 a year is going to give us the opportunity to really look at the equipment that we're putting out on the street. And I've got some issues with the Impalas. I think we're putting so much equipment in these cars, you virtually can't have anybody in them. By the time you put the cage in them, and the computers, and the shotgun, and everything that we wear, you can't fit in the car. Number 2, I'm going to ask the Veterans Administration to come in and review all of the incarcerated veterans for them to pick up their medical and mental and medicines. And as soon as we can do that, I think we can start saving hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Mr. Green.
Well, I'm going to come in and I'm going to get with the folks. I'm certainly going to visit with the commissioners and county judge, the auditor, the purchasing agent. We're going to get into the guts of the department. We're going to go around and visit with the folks in the field, in our jails, introduce them to our new team, give them a boost of morale, that things are going to be different, it's going to be good, rejuvenate their careers, know that there's career opportunities. All of our disciplinary action is going to be equal across the board, equal justice for all. But more than anything, we'll look at policy and make sure that our policy fits the sheriff's office. Look at our personnel. Make sure our personnel is the face of Smith County. I think we need more Hispanic deputies in the field because we have drugs and cartels. Look at our balance. We want to be fair and equal across the board because the sheriff has to do that.
Mr. Garman?
First thing, I'm gonna swear my staff in under my command. Second thing, I'm gonna review all the employee positions. Third thing, I'm gonna look at the policy procedure, go over with every employee, make sure they understand it. I'm gonna set the expectation of all employees and go over everything with them. I'm gonna appoint a public relations officer who deal with the news media to make sure that we get things out. A lot of things that we do in the sheriff's office that we just take it and go on, the public don't even know about it. I'm gonna make sure we have a public relations officer that work with the news media every day, writing press release, getting stuff out, getting stuff out. I'm gonna be real strong on stats, keeping up with stats and how we can improve the department. We have one of the top department in the state of Texas. I don't want to see us go back. I want to see us keep going forward. I want to keep working on our new technologies, like I said before. I want to keep working on it. I want to keep working and trying to get a county-wide technology so it'd be more quicker, more capable of everybody to know what's going on. A traffic stop that the city made, it might be that person that could help us clear one of these homicides.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
As I've said earlier, I say time and again, it all goes back to character and integrity or lack thereof. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a command staff and put it in place where you can go open Webster's dictionary, look up the word integrity, and their picture's going to be there. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to improve the integrity because I told you that's impossible. You can't rehabilitate integrity. I'm going to ensure the integrity of this department. Right now, the bar is right here. Under my administration, the bar is going to be raised. Everybody probably want to immediately maintain that level, but they better be striving, they better be jumping, trying to reach that bar, or they will not work under a Larry Smith Sheriff's administration.
All right, that concludes our questions. We'll now move into the final conclusion. Any final statements that you have? So you have 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes to do that. We'll start with you, Mr. Garman.
Ladies and gentlemen, my opponent's coming up and want you to think that they can do this and that. They can promise you this and that. For the last 9 years, I've been second in command of the Smith County Sheriff's Department. We have one of the top sheriff officers in the state of Texas. And we can't, we want to keep going forward. These guys, it's good guys at what they've been doing. I've been working the budget for the last 9 years. We give back to the county. Ms. Fleming even know that when there is a committee, problem in the county, who do they call? They call me to work on that committee to help out solve the problem here. I done had some of these people saying that the sheriff's office is static quote. You can quote me, being one of the top sheriff officers in the state of Texas. It is not called exceed the expectation. It's over and over again. If one tell you that the Smith County Sheriff's Office is static quote, I assure you that this is something that someone who's out of touch with Smith County community. Let me paraphrase that. It's someone who has spent their law enforcement career in place other than Smith County. Ladies and gentlemen, you must make the decision to keep a sheriff's office moving forward by electing Bobby Gorman as sheriff. Any other candidate would cost you money, time, jobs, and some leader by on-the-job training how to be a sheriff administrator. Again, making the right decisions to move Smith County Sheriff's Office forward with only one experience, capable and grounded in this community, and that's Bobby Gorman.
Mr. Rest.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. I've enjoyed the debate. I think it's always good when we can talk and look at each other and visit before a debate and afterwards. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go to work here in a minute. But I just believe it's time this county starts answering to the boss, and that's the taxpayer. I think it's been a while since we've really had an interest in our government. And while I'm not a very good politician, I am a good problem solver, and I'm a good businessman, and I'm a good cop. I'm running for the position of sheriff, because I feel our rights and freedoms are in jeopardy. The sheriff is the last defense and protector against the federal government. And I'm here to protect you and watch your money and be open and care about you and your family. But there are going to be issues that we're going to have to be ready to discuss. Sheriff's not a dictator. And we're going to have a sheriff that can work with everyone. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Smith.
First of all, I'm one of those, Bobby, that is not satisfied, nor will I ever be, with status quo. I believe my training experience in my travels throughout the United States, throughout the world, working with other state, local, and federal law enforcement agencies, as well as foreign law enforcement, has given me a vision that when I look, you heard the old adage, you can't see the forest for the trees. I think it's time for some new blood, some new eyes to come into this department and make Smith County one of the largest counties in Texas, both population-wise and geographically, with 950 square miles, 209,000 people, make it what it can be. I think what I can do from my experience, my training, my leadership abilities, I can not only see the mountain, looking dead into the mountain, I can see what's on the other side. And I think that's what we need here in Smith County, see what's on the other side of the mountain, give you taxpayers what you've been paying for already, but have not been getting as fully as you could. Another thing, a lot of the money's been given back to the budget. A lot of you probably understand, some of you might, and someone said earlier about including some of you grassroots people here in dealing with some of those matters. I've been dealing with the last 6 years' budget, and I couldn't have asked for a better person to help me do it. I've got a person that was run multi-billion-dollar corporations, accounting departments of multi-billion-dollar corporations, one of your very own right here, Mike Command. He's been so gracious as to help me because I went and asked for help. Another thing is a lot of that money that's given back every year, they don't want to tell you that's in salaries that weren't used. You have different parts of the budget. You have capital expenditures, you have salaries, you have this and that. I attribute that somewhat to maybe we can't get good people here and we can't keep people here in this department, because if you do your budget, you ought to expend most of that money for salaries every year. If you think you're going to need those people, you think you're going to need that money, you need to only ask for what you need. Again, my vision is not what we are now. I never will, and I repeat, be satisfied with status quo. And one other thing, since I got a little bit of time left here, I want to do, I want to encourage each of you at the tables here, in the chairs and everywhere. Yesterday, I sent out to all the news media a pledge that I make to you as citizens of Smith County. I signed that pledge, and when I sent to them wasn't signed, this one's signed. And I want to go ahead one step farther, and I want to seal the deal with that. And I want to say, I will live up to that pledge, so help me God.
Is this our closing? Is this our closing?
This is it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a plan for the Smith County Sheriff's Office. We're going to keep the programs that work. JB's done some good things, like I said. Their team has. We're going to keep those good programs that do work. Our East Texas Food Bank, so you're helping Mistletoe and Magic, and the cattle barons with inmate labor, utilize those. But we're going to do a lot more than that. We're going to be ethical. We're going to be transparent. We're going to streamline. We're going to be more efficient with the tax dollars. New leadership with me, new management styles, a fresh start. I'm the most qualified candidate because I do have a mixture of business sense and the best training that the state offers as a Texas game warden. I promise you, our sheriff's office is going to do everything in its power to make sure we protect the people. Sheriff Mack didn't mention that we're running for, chief investigator or fire marshal or, status quo. We're going to be the defenders of the Constitution on our team. and are going to be bound to protect the folks here in this county. You know, in the last grassroots debate we had at Hideaway, one of the opponents mentioned that, you know, he was going to follow the judges, you know, let them legislate from the bench. You know, I think that's unacceptable. And we have another opponent that took orders from Janet Reno in Waco and from Eric Holder in Fast and Furious. Listen, in these tough times we have, it's coming up, if Obama wins this election, the next thing they're coming after is not going to be contraceptive. It's not going to be, you know, true, whatever they're doing there with food police. They're going to come after our guns. Now, you know, I'm not beholden to the federal government by any means. I promise you, as your sheriff, I am going to draw the line in the sand. I am going to protect you from the federal government. Whatever happens to me happens, but we are not disarming our folks, because I think the federal government, the next step in the radical agenda with a president that wins a second term, that's what he's coming after. And I promise you, I will stand in front of you to make sure the federal government does not take our firearms in this county. Thank you.
Someone that didn't get to see it. Also, we appreciate everyone's attendance today. Grassroots America, we the people, especially for bringing us all together. And this type of exchange is so important in the strength of America, and I think it does make for a better East Texas. All right. Thank you all. We're adjourned.